Hello, Body of Messiah. 5 of Lesson 2 of TBON, Take Back Our Narrative, Africa Throughout the Bible. And as I said in part 4, we're going to return and cover some of the names that are associated with the African people and that are also linked directly to scriptures, to the Bible. The two names we're going to cover today. Number one, we're going to return back to a name that we covered in part 3, Zerah. And we're also going to cover a new name called Ebed-Melech. Okay? Now, what I discovered with Zerah, I'm going to give a quick review of it, is Zerah, we saw this name under the descendants of Judah. When we were reviewing the descendants of Achan, Achan is A-K-A-N or A-C-H-A-N, Achan. We found that Achan was associated with the tribe, the Ashanti tribe. The Ashanti tribe, who are direct descendants of Ashan, A-S-H-A-N, who is mentioned in Joshua chapter 15, verse 42. Also descendants of the tribe of Judah, of Israel. Now, what we reviewed in Joshua chapter 7, in the Bible, Joshua chapter 7, is Achan lineage. God was searching through and allowing Joshua to find the particular person and family that committed an offense against him, where when the nation of Israel overtook some Canaanite land, that there was some people who had taken some of the spoils. They had taken a mantle of Shinar. They had taken silver and gold, some treasure. They were not to partake of that. This particular area that they were supposed to go in and overtake and destroy, they were supposed to destroy everything. They were not to take anything from amongst these people. And so God had Joshua call before him in order to find out who it was, each tribe of Israel, and God would let Joshua know, okay, it's amongst this tribe and that tribe. So what God did is once Joshua called forth the tribe of Judah, God let Joshua know it's amongst the tribe of Judah. So when in the tribe of Judah, there was a group called the Zerahites. Okay, the Zerahites. These are Z-E-R-A-H. That group of people. And God said, yes, it's amongst that group of people, that clan. And then it dwindled down to a family under the Zerahites called Zabdi, Z-A-B-D-I. And then it dwindled, filtered down to another group, a family called Carmi. And then they got to specifically Achan, A-C-H-A-N. Now, what we'll notice with the name Zerah here amongst the tribe of Judah is that when we went through Genesis chapter 38, verse 27 through 30, is that Zerah is one of the twin sons that Judah had by Tamar, the Canaanite woman named Tamar. And then when we looked in 2 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 9 through 15, at the battle of Zephath between the king of Judah named Asa, he fought against the combined forces of the Cushite kingdom and the ancient Egyptians. They were under the command of an Ethiopian named Zerah. So once again, we have Ethiopia amongst the descendants of Judah, amongst the Cushite kingdom, the ancient Egyptian, and we've reviewed over and over again through the lesson series of the Y and other lessons that Africa was not known as Africa. It was known as the land of Cush or Egypt or Ethiopia. So once again, this name Zerah roams throughout. Now, what I uncovered further after I brought you up to speed here is that I've always said, and as you look at the Bible study series titled The Why, the Whole House of Israel, that the Israelite, even when they overtook some land in different spaces, and also the Hebrew people in general, they intermarried with one another. So you have descendants of patriarch Abraham. There are 8 sons of patriarch Abraham. There's not only one. And a lot of ministers and stuff only teach that basically they focus on Isaac, the son that was promised to patriarch Abraham and Sarah. But he had 8 other sons. He had 8 sons in all. His first son was Ishmael. He had the son Isaac next. And then he had 6 sons by a Syrian woman, or the book of Joshua called her Canaanite. Her name was Keturah. So 8 sons in all. And throughout the Torah, you will see where these groups of people intermarried with one another. They even warred with one another. But all of these Hebrew descendants are intertwined with one another. And I've said before, there are such things as grafted in Hebrews. People who may not be specifically descendants of patriarch Abraham, but they fall alongside the Israelites, and they're the people who say, your people is my people and your God is my God, and they follow the commands of God. But what I uncovered with Zerah is the fact that Zerah is a namesake that is also found under a combined descendant of Esau, an Edomite, the head of the Edomite, and Ishmael, Basemath or Basmath. She is a daughter of Ishmael. Now, let's trace back, because I'm going to show you how this ties in once again to Ethiopia, to Africa, what have you. This because, I know there are a lot of people who say Edomites or the descendants of Esau are all white people and they're all evil and what have you. This is not backed up by biblical scriptures. It's not even backed up by the book of Joshua. Yeah, there is a descendant of Esau named Zepho, who also ruled over Italia, or basically Italy, for some years. And I'm pretty sure there are some descendants of Esau who inhabited parts of Europe. That's fine. But all of these descendants, from Ishmael to the 6 sons by Keturah, to Isaac, to Esau and Jacob, they all began and started out as black and brown people. So we'll remember Reuel, Reuel, is Jethro. He's the father-in-law of Moses, Moshe. Reuel is Cushite or Ethiopian. And the reason we know this is because Reuel, in Numbers chapter 12, his daughter Zipporah, who was married to Moshe, she's described as Cushite or Ethiopian, depending on which version of the Bible you read, in Numbers chapter 12. So we know that his heritage, her father was Cushite or Ethiopian, basically African. Now, when we look at this namesake, Reuel, Reuel, right, or Jethro or Yethro, we find that Reuel is a son that Esau had with Basemath. Basemath is Ishmael's daughter. She is the sister of Nebaioth. And you can find that in Genesis chapter 36, where it covers descendants of Edom or Esau. So Esau and Basemath had Reuel. Reuel, I haven't run across what his wife's name is, but Reuel is documented, it has in Genesis 36, 4 sons: Nathan, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. So here you see Zerah again. Now this means Zerah, the namesake Zerah, is amongst the direct descendant of Judah. And Zerah, that namesake, is a grandson of Esau. So he's Hebrew based on his DNA. Now, how he decides to worship is his choice, but based on his DNA, is Hebrew. So we see this affiliation with the tribe of Judah. We see the affiliation with the descendants, the Hebrew descendants, Esau, Ishmael. We have Ethiopia repeated over and over again, or Cushite. We have all of this. Keep in mind that Reuel is basically a Midianite priest. Midian is the first one of the sons that patriarch Abraham had by Keturah. So I call it a Hebrew mixture. We'll see this repeatedly over and over again. You'll see the Ishmaelite, Midianite, Ethiopian, Cushite, Egyptians, Edomite, even the Levitical priesthood, which Moshe is a part of, descendant of, Canaanite, and Judah. All of this mixed amongst this namesake Zerah in the Bible. Now let's move over to Ebed-Melech. When we read in Jeremiah chapter 38, verses 7 through 13, and Jeremiah chapter 39, verses 15 through 18, here we have, basically this covers like the oppression or persecution of Jeremiah, what happens with the prophet Jeremiah. There was a king of Judah named Zedekiah. Okay, he did not like the prophecies that Jeremiah was placing forth, prophecies given to Jeremiah by the Most High God. So he would throw Jeremiah into prison, throw him in a dungeon or what have you. But the last time he tossed him into a cistern. And a cistern is just basically a domed well. That's what it is. Okay. And there is an Ethiopian official that the king at the king's palace who heard God when God said basically he knew that Jeremiah was a man of God. His name is Ebed-Melech, this Ethiopian official, and because he heeded and feared God more than man, he rescued Jeremiah out of the cistern. And because of that, in Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 15, God told Jeremiah to prophesy to Ebed-Melech that he will escape the judgment that's going to come through the Babylonian captivity against Judah, the king of Judah. He's going to escape with his life because he listened to God over man. Now, this namesake, Ebed-Melech, the first encounter that we see of this Ethiopian official, this exact namesake, can be found in the book of Jasher, chapter 25. And the book of Jasher, chapter 25, covers in more detail, the descendants of Ishmael. Ishmael's first wife name was Rabah, R-I-B-A-H. And it also mentions his second wife, but we're focusing on the first one. By the first wife Ishmael he had 4 of his 12 sons: Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam. Now, in that lineage, Mibsam, these are his 3 sons: Obadiah, Ebed-Melech, and Yush. So Obadiah, Ebed-Melech, and Yehush. So we see this name here, and I'm certain it was carried down to this Ebed-Melech that's mentioned in Jeremiah. So you have under basically the grandson of Ishmael, this namesake being carried down. And once again, the heritage of this particular person is Ethiopian. So Body of Messiah, like I say over and over again, Africa and the heritage of the descendants of Africans and African slaves can be traced throughout history, even further than documented histories that are in official books that are in America, Africa, and any other place that people from Europe established. The history is in the Bible and throughout the Bible. And so we got to be thanking God for such a time as this, because it's a beautiful history, and thanking him for revealing this to us. Well, Body of Messiah, this is the end of part 5 of lesson 2 of TBON. Make sure you continue to teach and discover more regarding God's word and how Africa is linked directly to it. Well, until next time, it's going to probably be a while before I turn back to Africa throughout the Bible lessons, lesson 2, because I'm going to go back over to COOH, come out of her. So if anyone, like I said, has any details regarding Africa and information of specific land spaces, rivers, townships, or counties that are associated with biblical scripture, please let me know and place them in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, may Adonai Elohim cover you and your family, shield and protect you, and surround you with his shalom peace. Goodbye, body of Messiah.